The whispers started the moment he stepped onto the polished deck. In his faded jeans and department store button-up, David Martinez stuck out among the designer suits and summer dresses like a weed in a rose garden. The champagne-sipping elite of Harbor Bay exchanged glances, wondering who had allowed the janitor aboard the most exclusive yacht party of the summer. They had no idea that their judgment would soon turn to shame, or that this single father's presence would change everything. If you're moved by stories of courage, resilience, and the extraordinary lengths a parent will go for their child, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content that reminds us of our shared humanity. David clutched the worn envelope in his pocket, his calloused fingers tracing the edges as if to draw strength from it. The invitation had arrived 3 weeks ago, addressed specifically to him, requesting his presence at billionaire Warren Fitzgerald's annual charity yacht gala. He had almost thrown it away, assuming it was a mistake. After all, what business did a mechanic and single father have mingling with the upper echelon of society? The harbor breeze carried the scent of expensive perfume and sea salt as David made his way across the deck, painfully aware of the stares following him. His shoes, the only pair he owned that weren't work boots, squeaked slightly against the polished teak. He'd spent an hour polishing them last night after Lily had fallen asleep, wanting to look presentable despite knowing he'd never truly fit in. "Champagne, sir?" A server in a crisp white uniform appeared at his elbow, offering a silver tray of flutes. "No, thank you," David replied, his voice lower than intended. He didn't drink, hadn't touched alcohol since the night of the accident 3 years ago. The night that had left him a widower with a 4-year-old daughter to raise alone. Across the deck, Elaine Westbrook, chairwoman of the Harbor Bay Country Club, leaned toward her husband. "Who invited the help to the party?" she whispered, not bothering to lower her voice enough. Her diamond earrings caught the setting sun as she tilted her head toward David. "Probably someone's driver," her husband replied with a dismissive wave. "You know how Warren likes his charity cases." David pretended not to hear, though the words stung. He was used to being invisible to people like the Westbrooks. He'd serviced their Mercedes just last month at Rodriguez Auto, replacing brake pads they'd neglected for too long while they complained about the cost. They hadn't recognized him then either. His eyes scanned the crowd, searching for the one face he needed to see. According to the letter, Dr. Catherine Chen would be attending, and she was the entire reason David had borrowed his cousin's only suit and arranged for his neighbor to watch Lily for the evening. He needed 5 minutes of the renowned pediatric neurologist's time, 5 minutes that could change his daughter's life. "You seem lost." The voice came from behind him, gentle but direct. David turned to find a woman in her early 40s, her dark hair swept up in an elegant knot, wearing a simple blue dress that somehow looked more sophisticated than the flashier outfit surrounding them. "I'm looking for someone," David admitted. The woman extended her hand. "I'm Vanessa Torres. Maybe I can help." David hesitated before accepting her handshake. "David Martinez. First time at one of Warren's parties?" Her smile seemed genuine, lacking the plastic quality of most expressions he'd encountered so far. "That obvious, huh?" He managed a small smile. "Only to another outsider." Vanessa's eyes twinkled. "I'm the new director of the Children's Hospital wing that Warren's Foundation is funding. Still learning the social landscape myself." David's heart quickened. "The Children's Hospital? Do you work with Dr. Catherine Chen?" "Kate? Of course. She's my head of neurology." Vanessa studied him more carefully. "Are you in medicine?" "No, I'm a mechanic." David pulled the envelope from his pocket. "But I received this invitation mentioning Dr. Chen would be here. I need to speak with her about my daughter." Understanding dawned in Vanessa's eyes. "Your daughter is a patient?" "Not yet." David swallowed hard. "But she needs to be. She has these episodes, seizures the local doctors can't explain. They've mentioned a rare condition, but the specialist wait list is 18 months long. By then." He couldn't finish the sentence. Vanessa touched his arm gently. How old is your daughter? Lily's 7 now. The episode started after her mother died. Before Vanessa could respond, a commotion near the main cabin drew their attention. The crowd parted like the Red Sea as Warren Fitzgerald himself emerged, resplendent in a tailored white suit, his silver hair gleaming in the evening sun. At his side walked an elegant Asian woman in a crimson dress, Dr. Catherine Chen herself. There's Kate now, Vanessa said. Let me introduce you. Wait, David hesitated. I don't want to impose. This is a celebration, and my problems are exactly why we're all here, Vanessa finished firmly. This party isn't just about raising money, David. It's about remembering why we raise it. As they moved toward Dr. Chen, David felt the weight of stairs intensifying. Elaine Westbrook and her circle tracked their movement with undisguised curiosity. Warren Fitzgerald was the kind of billionaire who prided himself on knowing every guest at his events, and the sight of an unfamiliar face approaching his star neurologist had caught his attention. Vanessa. Warren called out, his booming voice carrying across the deck. Who's your friend? The conversations around them quieted as heads turned. David felt his collar tightening around his neck. Warren, this is David Martinez, Vanessa said smoothly. He received an invitation to discuss his daughter's case with Dr. Chen. Warren's bushy eyebrows rose. Did he now? His sharp eyes took in David's borrowed suit and nervous posture. I don't recall sending such an invitation. A murmur rippled through the nearby guests. David felt his face burning. I have it right here, he said, pulling out the envelope again, suddenly uncertain. The paper felt flimsy in his hands, the elegant script blurring before his eyes. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her expression professional but kind. May I? She asked, holding out her hand for the letter. David handed it over, acutely aware of the silence that had fallen around them. Dr. Chen read it quickly, her face revealing nothing. This isn't our letterhead, she said finally, looking up at Warren. And that's not my signature. The whispers grew louder. David's stomach dropped through the deck. He'd been so desperate to believe that someone had seen his pleas on the support forum, had offered a lifeline for Lily. I'm sorry, he said, mortification washing over him. I thought, someone told me this was my chance to get help for my daughter. I'll go. He turned to leave, shame burning through him. He'd wasted his cousin's goodwill, Mrs. Patel's evening watching Lily, and his own day's wages on a wild hope. Wait. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the murmurs. Who told you about me specifically? David turned back. The specialists at County General mentioned your research on pediatric temporal lobe epilepsy, but said the waitlist was too long. Then this invitation arrived, and I thought. I hoped. Dr. Chen exchanged a glance with Warren, some unspoken communication passing between them. Someone is playing a cruel joke, Warren said, his voice hardening. Using my name and Dr. Chen's reputation to give false hope. I want to know who. David shook his head. It doesn't matter. I shouldn't have come. I'm sorry to have interrupted your evening. As he turned to go, a new voice joined the conversation. It was me. A young woman stepped forward from the crowd. David recognized her as Sophia Fitzgerald, Warren's daughter. Her cheeks were flushed, but her gaze was steady. I sent the invitation, she continued. I overheard Mr. Martinez at the garage when I took my car in for service. He was on the phone with his daughter's doctor, and I heard him mention Dr. Chen. He didn't know I was listening. Warren stared at his daughter in disbelief. Sophia, what were you thinking? I was thinking about Mom, she replied, her voice catching. About how you moved heaven and earth to get her the best care when she was sick. Not everyone has those resources, Dad. A heavy silence fell over the gathering. Warren's wife had died of cancer 5 years earlier, despite his deploying his considerable fortune in search of a cure. Dr. Chen broke the tension, turning to David. Tell me about your daughter's symptoms. The next 20 minutes unfolded in a blur. The party continued around them, but David found himself seated at a quiet table with Dr. Chen, describing Lily's episodes in detail while she took notes. The mysterious spells that would leave his vibrant daughter confused and frightened. The local neurologist's baffled expression. The growing frequency of the seizures. The medication isn't working anymore, David explained, his voice steady despite the fear that lived permanently in his chest. And each episode seems to take a little more of her away. Her teacher says she's having trouble concentrating, forgetting things she used to know. Dr. Chen nodded, her expression thoughtful rather than pitying. From what you're describing, I suspect focal cortical dysplasia rather than standard epilepsy. It's rare, but treatable with the right intervention. I'd need to see her scan results to confirm. I brought them, David admitted, reaching into his inner jacket pocket to produce a USB drive. I didn't know if I'd get this chance, but I wanted to be prepared. Dr. Chen's eyebrows rose slightly, but she took the drive with a nod of approval. Mr. Martinez, Warren Fitzgerald said, approaching their table. I owe you an apology for the misunderstanding. While my daughter's methods were unconventional, her heart was in the right place. David shook his head. No apology needed, Mr. Fitzgerald. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with Dr. Chen. Warren studied him for a moment. You don't strike me as a man who accepts charity easily. I'm not, David acknowledged. But this isn't about me. For Lily, I'd swallow every ounce of pride I have. Warren nodded, something like respect flickering in his eyes. Vanessa tells me you're a mechanic. Yes, sir. At Rodriguez Auto on Maple Street. Good with your hands, then. Problem solver. David wasn't sure where this was going. I suppose so. Warren turned to Dr. Chen. Kate, if you determine this child is a candidate for your program, make it happen. The foundation will cover any costs insurance doesn't. Dr. Chen nodded. I'll review her case tonight. Warren turned back to David. And as for you, Mr. Martinez, my yacht has been making a troubling noise when we hit certain speeds. My usual mechanic can't figure it out. Perhaps you'd be willing to take a look, for an appropriate consultant fee, of course. David recognized the offer for what it was, a way to accept help without it feeling like charity. I'd be happy to, Mr. Fitzgerald. Excellent. We'll arrange it through Vanessa. Warren clapped him on the shoulder before moving away to attend to other guests. As the evening progressed, David found himself drawn into conversations with various guests. The initial judgment had given way to curiosity, and then to genuine interest. These wealthy individuals lived in a different world from his, but as they talked, he discovered unexpected common ground. Several were parents themselves, and the universal fears and hopes that came with raising children transcended economic boundaries. By the time the yacht returned to harbor, David had Dr. Chen's direct number, an appointment for Lily the following week, and an unexpected network of new connections. As he prepared to disembark, Elaine Westbrook approached, her expression carefully composed. Mr. Martinez, she said, her voice lacking its earlier condescension. I believe you worked on my Mercedes last month. Yes, Mrs. Westbrook. The brake pads needed replacing. She nodded. You did excellent work. My husband mentioned we might need our fleet serviced regularly. Would your shop be interested in a contract? David thought of his boss, Miguel Rodriguez, and how such a contract could help the struggling garage. I think we would. I'll have Mr. Rodriguez contact you. She handed him her business card. See that he does. As David walked down the gangplank, Vanessa fell into step beside him. Quite a turnaround, she observed. From interloper to honored guest in one evening. David smiled ruefully. I'm still not sure what happened. What happened is that you reminded everyone of something they try to forget amid all this luxury, that we're all ultimately vulnerable, all fighting for those we love. Vanessa glanced back at the glittering yacht. These people have wealth, but they recognize courage when they see it. And it takes courage to walk into a lion's den for your child. David thought of Lily, who would be waiting for him to check under her bed for monsters before she went to sleep, even though he'd be home well past her bedtime. She's worth it. That's what Warren saw in you, Vanessa said. The same thing he recognized in himself when he was fighting for his wife. That kind of love doesn't know social boundaries. David reached his battered pickup truck, parked incongruously among the luxury vehicles. I should get home to Lily. Of course. Vanessa smiled. I'll see you next week at Lily's appointment. And David? You belonged at that party more than most of the people there. Never forget that. As David drove home through the quiet streets, the weight that had pressed on his chest for months felt lighter. For the first time since Lily's diagnosis, he allowed himself to feel something dangerous, hope. When he arrived home, Mrs. Patel was dozing on the couch, the television playing quietly. She woke as he entered, adjusting her glasses. How is she? David whispered. Sleeping like an angel, Mrs. Patel replied. No episodes today. She was very excited about your special meeting and made me promise to tell you she was brave while you were gone. David smiled. Thank you for watching her. After Mrs. Patel left, David quietly entered Lily's room. Moonlight filtered through the unicorn curtains they'd picked out together, casting a silver glow over her small form. Her dark curls, so like her mother's, splayed across the pillow. Her favorite stuffed elephant was clutched tightly in one arm. David knelt beside her bed, watching the steady rise and fall of her chest. Tonight, she slept peacefully. Tomorrow, he would tell her about Dr. Chen and the new hope they had. But for now, he simply savored this moment of quiet perfection. I promised I'd fix it, Mija, he whispered, brushing a curl from her forehead. And I will. As if hearing him in her dreams, Lily's lips curved into a small smile. 6 months later, David stood at the railing of the same yacht where his journey had begun. This time, however, he wore a new suit, one he'd purchased himself, and at his side stood Lily, resplendent in a teal dress that matched her eyes, her curls tamed into neat pigtails. After successful surgery and a groundbreaking treatment protocol developed by Dr. Chen, Lily had been seizure-free for 3 months. Her cognitive functions were improving daily, and the haunted look that had shadowed her eyes had given way to the spark of curiosity and mischief that David remembered from before her illness. Is this really a party for me, Daddy? Lily asked, gazing around at the decorated yacht in wonder. It sure is, Princess, David replied, still amazed himself at the turn their lives had taken. Warren Fitzgerald's foundation had not only covered Lily's treatment but had established a new program to identify and fast-track children with similar conditions. David's mechanical expertise had proven valuable enough that Warren had offered him a position maintaining his collection of vintage vehicles, allowing David flexible hours and significantly better pay than the garage. Mr. Martinez. Warren's booming voice preceded his approach. And this must be the famous Lily I've heard so much about. Lily, still shy around strangers, pressed against David's side but offered a small wave. It's an honor to meet you, Miss Lily, Warren said, bending slightly to address her directly. Your dad has told me you're the bravest person he knows. Lily's cheeks flushed with pleasure. I got a cool scar, she confided, touching the side of her head where her hair was just growing back over the surgical site. Battle scars are badges of honor, Warren replied seriously. I have a few myself. As Warren chatted with Lily, drawing her gradually out of her shell, David watched the interaction with a full heart. The same people who had judged him 6 months ago now greeted him warmly. Elaine Westbrook's Mercedes contract had saved Rodriguez Auto from financial trouble. Dr. Chen had become a regular dinner guest at their modest home, bringing medical journals for David to read so he could better understand Lily's condition. Vanessa appeared at his elbow, elegant as always in emerald green. "Penny for your thoughts?" David smiled. "Just thinking about how quickly life can change. 6 months ago, I felt like I was drowning. Now you're helping others stay afloat," Vanessa finished, nodding toward the far side of the deck where several other families with children were gathered, the first beneficiaries of the Lily Martinez Initiative for Pediatric Neurological Intervention. "I still can't believe Warren named it after her," David said, shaking his head. "Warren recognizes that what changes the world isn't wealth, it's the love that drives ordinary people to extraordinary lengths." Vanessa squeezed his arm. "Your willingness to walk into a room where you knew you'd be judged, all for the chance to help your daughter, reminded all of us why we do what we do." The yacht's engines hummed to life beneath their feet as the captain prepared to take them on a sunset cruise around the harbor. Lily returned to David's side, slipping her small hand into his. "Daddy, Mr. Fitzgerald says I can help steer the boat if you come too." David smiled down at her. "Then I guess we'd better not keep him waiting." As they walked toward the captain's bridge, Lily skipping slightly with excitement, David caught the eye of Sophia Fitzgerald. The young woman who had sent the fateful invitation nodded to him, a quiet acknowledgement passing between them. Some might call it fate, others divine intervention. David didn't have a name for the force that had brought them all together that night 6 months ago. He only knew that judgment had given way to understanding, and that understanding had blossomed into compassion. In the end, the yacht party that had judged the single dad had become the beginning of a journey none of them could have anticipated. As the sun began to set over Harbor Bay, casting golden light across the water, David watched his daughter laugh as Warren showed her how to hold the ship's wheel. In that moment, he knew that whatever challenges still lay ahead, they would face them together, not just as father and daughter, but as part of a community that had learned to see beyond appearances to the heart that beat beneath. And sometimes, that made all the difference in the world. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind us of our common humanity and the unexpected connections that can change lives. Remember, judgment is often based on incomplete information. You never know what battles others are fighting or why they're fighting them.